And we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt Lineouts. I'm Aaron Castro, your host, and I've got three guys tonight from Utah Warriors. First up is Alex Slim Tucci. How's it going, Alex?
Going great. It's going great.
So, you played rugby as a kid, right?
Yeah, I started football and rugby when I was 14, 15, I would say. I just got done. I used to play baseball growing up, and then got put into football just because of my size and what they saw, I guess, just size and speed. So after football season, it was sort of like a gray area. Like they were like, "Do you want to do track, basketball?" And one of my friends, Mikey Roman, called me and was like, "Hey, they're starting a rugby team." And I was like, "What's that?" And of course, like they're like, "Just go look it up on YouTube." You can run the ball and just go look it up on YouTube. It's like football. So I went on YouTube, looked it up, and found myself at my first practice, And after, I think, my first game, I remember getting my first carry and just falling in love with the game.
Awesome. And then so in 2008, I guess you were a senior, right? You made the U18 camp that was in Florida. So
yeah,
how did you get that opportunity? And I guess, they have the camp here all the time. I live in Arizona, so they have the camp here. And it seems that most of those guys have to are either playing very young or going through the EIRA program.
Yeah. So with that, Florida, when I was in high school and stuff, after my first season of playing rugby, I got selected for the Florida Juice when it first started. If anybody knows about it, it's there. A lot of good coaches and people that run that organization. They sort of took me there and to one of the tournaments we had at Pittsburgh. I don't remember where, but it was a really nice pitch. And I just had the thing with rugby was I kind of in high school I kind of just played the game, and it's sort of I played it well. So it sort of came with just the USA getting the camp invites and for the U18. And just even colleges like Life, I remember they were like, "We can get you a scholarship there if you chose to pursue it." I never did choose to pursue any of those, mostly just because my family's not really. My family's not so much into sports and doesn't really know what to do with the whole process of recruiting and stuff. And it was kind of still, I feel like back when I was in high school, recruiting was big, even in football and stuff like that. But it wasn't as big as it is nowadays, where everything's on social media, like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can get them out on all platforms. Coaches are looking at all
those. It so
back in 2006 to 2008, I feel like it was I didn't have the knowledge.
2006. I want to say that recruiting was still
it was
there wasn't Twitter. Facebook was just college based, right? Just getting going. So there was MySpace. So people announced on announced on MySpace and still were in their local paper. Whereas now it's, you got to write a long note and then post the screenshot.
Yeah.
On your Twitter.
Exactly. But it was I actually on that Florida Juice team, Cam Dolan was on that team with me. So that's pretty pretty cool. I see him I met him on that team, and then sort of went my route with football and everything, and he it's cool to see him in the league now, And there's other guys like Peter Malcolm, who plays with Austin. I know he was on a Juice team. People have told me that we played together. I feel like there's a couple years in between us, or we played against each other. But I've seen the team that he used to play for. We played against each other. I know we have.
So what was the big differentiating factor going to Colorado State instead of I guess going to Life?
It was more of just I guess my football coach had a really big influence on my life and everything. And football just was very it was more structured and organized, and it was sort of what everyone wanted me to do. I love the game of football. I pretty much owe a lot of my athletic ability and just working out knowledge and stuff like that to it. But I would say rugby was one of like the sports I kind of loved more. Like even when I chose Colorado State. Also, just the money and scholarships were more secure with football. So like I knew I was going to have room and board. I knew I was going to have a stipend to sort of pay for living and whatnot. So, and I love football. And at that time, it just seemed like, you know, the path. Like if I make it in football, I really don't have too many worries about for the rest of my life, you know?
Got it. So like when you were at Colorado State, you also played rugby, which the Rams are what is it called? D1A right now.
Yeah.
Our D1A program. But what was like the difference between, you know, scholarship football and club rugby? I mean, back then it was still a pretty big program for rugby.
Yeah. So when I got I did 3 years at Colorado State, and in my last semester, when I knew I was leaving the school, it was sort of my chance. Like I contacted the team and said, "Hey, I would love it," because they've been contacting me once I got there. They knew who I was, and they knew that I played rugby, so they wanted me to come out and play. But as far as coaches, you know, they just don't want to football. Like if the school's putting investment in you like that, sometimes in certain schools, I mean, where rugby's not as popular. I know at Utah sometimes they let like the football players and rugby players, you know, you can go back and you can play both sports, but they really didn't like want us like playing rugby. But so when I got my chance to play, the difference I would say, I mean, with football, it's kind of like an all day, everyday thing. I mean, it's sort of what like we're doing with the Utah Warriors now, being up early, you know, going through the day and sort of meetings and whatnot. And it's a big load, college football. They have you there like in the mornings when you got classes, and then you got maybe some time to get lunch and stuff like that, and then you're right back into meetings up until practice. You get done with practice, you go to study hall, and then you sort of eat and sort of get prepared for the next day. Whereas rugby in college, since it's a club and stuff like that, you got practice maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and you really don't have. There's no organized weight session, so you kind of got to do it on your own. But I mean, it was nice, honestly, to like take a step back and sort of do that, because it sort of let me see what a normal college student got to do, you know. And at the same time, I still had my sport, rugby, there with me, and it was a fun time.
So, you know, after 3 years at Colorado State, you chose to go to West Texas A&M. Did the rugby program like play into that at all? Because you played there too.
No, I didn't play rugby at West Texas A&M.
Oh, really? For some reason, there's like 8 things that I like found that said you played at West Texas A&M.
No, I don't know why they would say that, but there wasn't. I wish there was a rugby team. Actually, we would have had a pretty solid rugby team, because we had David Tamalau, who's actually signed with us a couple days ago. He was on. Me and him played defensive line at West Texas A&M together. So I mean, if we would have had some, we would have a pretty nice little, you know, 2 pieces.
Oh, I thought you guys like crossed each other. Like he left when you showed up or something.
No, we played a season together, because I was there for 3 years. He came into my second year, and we played together that. So I guess I got 3 years at West Texas A&M. I got a year back of playing. So my second year there, we played together, and then he left and went back to rugby, and I finished out my last year there.
Awesome. Then, so, you know, like you spent some time away from rugby, but like, so 2 years ago, you started playing with Okapi, and then in the same year, you got picked up with USA South. So how good of a club would you describe Okapi Wanderers are? And then for people trying to learn the game in South Florida, because you guys have a pretty big youth program down there.
Yeah, too. The youth. I feel like Okapi Wanderers. It's based out of Weston, Florida, and it's honestly great. It's a great rugby club, sort of for as far as for men's, even for youth. I would say for beginners in the game. They have a lot of knowledge and a lot of good people surrounding the program. I mean, our youth, like I coached our youth in a summer camp over this past summer before I went to Ireland, and like some of the kids there, you see things that they do, and you're like, I can't wait to see these kids in 4 or 5 years. They're gonna be great. So they got a lot of, they have the best thing is in that city of Weston, there's just so much support when it comes to sports and activity, any activity, you know. There's a seat for everybody in Weston. That's the best part about that city.
And then, so what was the process to get picked up for USA South?
I have a friend, Lucas Pastrocki, who actually got me, who was actually the starter of Weston rugby back in high school. And he basically sort of, when I was coming back into the game, he said, "Hey, there's a trial for the USA South. Would you like to come out for it? You know, I know you want to." He sort of honestly called me. He hit me up on Facebook and asked me to come out to one of the Cappy practices and get back into the game because he saw that I was still training and whatnot. And that's kind of when I made the decision. I was like, all right, I can keep training, you know, for football, or I can sort of do what I've always said I was going to do and go back to rugby once this football thing is done. And I've given it my shot. I've given it a fair shot and give rugby its fair shot. So that's what I did. I went to the USA South. I wasn't on the first squad for that team, mostly just because I was getting back into the game and I was getting back into the sort of positioning of playing prop. That when I came back to rugby, it was now touch, bind now, and then engage. When I was playing, it was touch, pause, engage. There was no binding, pre-binding. So I had to sort of learn that technique and get my footing right and whatnot. But I mean, it was a good experience with them.
So what are you playing now for the Warriors?
Prop.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you a loose head?
Yes, I'm a loose.
You're pretty big loose head, man. Oh, geez. But I'm a hooker, so I got 3 kinds of friends, you know. Ones, threes, and locks.
Yeah.
So over the summer you signed with MGM.
Yeah.
Gavin McLevy's your agent. You know, you went off to Ireland this summer.
Yes.
Played with Gorey. So how did that come about?
All right. So I signed with Gavin. Me and Gavin actually played. He's one of the coaches / players for Okapi. And sort of when I signed with him, it was sort of basically like after putting together a couple good games, he was basically like, "What do you want to do with this?" And I mean, I was easy. It was an easy question for me to say, like, I want to take this as far as I can. And, you know, that's why I kind of got back into it and put in all that extra work. So he was like, all right, let's get a plan together. And we kind of got like a plan together of let's get some MLR interest, put together like a little highlight tape of whatever film we could. And another one. So that's how the MGM sort of thing came into me. As far as the Ireland, my friend Stephen Sheehan contacted me and he was like, hey, I played with a guy from this rugby club in Gorey in Ireland. He came and played overseas. He came and played at University of Florida with me. I'm going to go overseas and play a season with them. Do you want to come with me? And it just seemed like it seemed like a no-brainer because back at home I was just basically, it was off season. It was the end of the summer. I was just working and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to wing it, go out there and see what comes of it. And it honestly, as far as making me a better rugby player and just teaching me a little bit more of that knowledge of the game, it sort of worked out pretty well.
Awesome. So what did you like most about being in Ireland in addition, like not rugby based?
Not rugby based. It's just, it put me out of I feel like my comfort zone. I mean, in America, we have so many things that we take for granted. And it sort of put me in a place where I didn't have a lot of the things like I said, I had to kind of wing it a lot, but it opened me up to a whole different culture that I wasn't used to. You know, it was just very different. And I lived in, like I always tell people, I lived in the country of another country. And that's one of the things I'll take back from living in Ireland. Like it made me appreciate what I have at home so much more, you know?
So how many guys that play rugby in high school, like then don't come back because like once they've played college football?
I mean, I feel like I hear a lot about guys that played rugby in high school and they come back and they don't come back to rugby. But I mean, I feel like sometimes they really didn't play. They probably played a game or something, or they just didn't like. They just probably didn't like it as much. But it's a tough question. It's a tough question, honestly. I don't. To find people that played rugby in high school,
because I mean, you have a lot of, I want to say, there's a lot of Islanders that come out from Hawaii that played rugby and football that tend to, I don't know. From what I've seen, there's tons of kids that have played rugby at a decently high level that then went and played, you know, scholarship football. And then when football was over, like they just didn't do anything. Yeah, they don't come back.
I think, I mean, sometimes maybe it's because of the people sometimes they just lose, I guess, the love for the game or just they think that at their time, it's not, they lost their time maybe with it. But I mean, I've always had a different mindset. Like I was like, always like, if football doesn't work out, I'm going right back to rugby. Like, and honestly, I mean, people always ask me what I love more. And I would have to say, I probably internally, I love rugby a little bit more than football. But at the same time, I'll watch football now. And I'm like, man, I miss football. But I mean, that's the same way I felt when I was playing football. I was like, man, I miss rugby. So who knows?
So what's your biggest adjustment, geez, that you've noticed to Utah, both on and off the field? So like moving to, say Mormon country. You know?
Yeah. Honestly, I heard so many like crazy rumor, like myths, I would say, about like coming out here, like, and I mean, what I see, the way I get the vibe of it, it's just like the Colorado on the other side of the mountains, you know, like I get that same vibe.
Well, so to that extent, where I live in Arizona, Mesa is called Little Utah. That's what people call it because I mean, people are people. It's just, that was a question from our viewers.
I mean, the thing I like about Utah, though, that I've always been one of the reasons I signed to Colorado State at high school. They took me up in the mountains, which I guess that was their best selling point. Because in Florida, growing up in New York, in the city, in the Bronx, and then moving to like Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, we don't have any mountains. Like there's not a single mountain. There's barely a hill. There's only one hill I can think of in Florida. There's Vista View. And then going out to Colorado State, seeing the mountains was just like it was a huge difference. And now coming out to Utah, like I have we have a view from our apartment of Mount Olympus, and it's awesome to drink, a cup of coffee and just look at it. Or even when you were driving, coming down sort of by the RSL Academy in Harriman, seeing the skyline of the mountains in the background. It's honestly beautiful. That's like probably the best.
So how would you describe the training environment that you guys are in?
It's definitely, it reminds me of like a kind of like a college, a Division I college style of like football training and stuff like that. We have Jordan Pendleton who does a great job with our weight program, and we were training with Posh Orthopedics, and they were doing our like speed and agility and stuff, and it's honestly, and even practicing with just like normal practice schedules with Alpha and everything. I mean, it's just it's nice. I've never really, other than Ireland and Gorey, even though it was still a club, the practices were still pretty high intensity, and it's sort of nice to have that out here in America, playing with a team where the practice is a high intensity. Playing with club back in Florida, sometimes you guys gotta drag guys to practice, and get numbers. It's honestly, it's great.
There was one time we were supposed to go to the playoffs on the team I was on, and so we had 4 practices before the playoffs. We played Tempe that year in D2.
Yeah,
and there were 3 of us at practice. I was like, we're gonna get murdered.
Yeah, that's how it always is. But everyone always shows up on game day. Those practices are scarce, but on game day, it seems like people just come out of the woodworks.
So, back in Ireland, are people like how much are people paying attention to this league? Because I sort of get the feeling that there's a lot of eyeballs.
I mean, there's people. When I was overseas, I would actually tell people, some of the players and whatnot, and they were like, "Really? There's our pro league in America?" And kind of laugh at it a little bit to an extent, saying that we're not, I guess, as good as rugby as they are. You know, they kind of hold their pride. They hold it. So but I mean, I feel like there's a good with even just like us doing our justice on social media and putting it out there. I've had a lot of friends kind of hit me up about it and sort of like ask questions and whatnot. But I've seen on our there are some of my friends that do follow the Warriors rugby page and MLR. I can see like who they follow and whatnot, and you can see that they're following. So I mean, there are eyes on us. I'm pretty sure as the season progresses and they'll put little clips on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all the social. Once it gets going and sort of you see more clips on the social media, I feel like more eyes, you know, with all the shares and whatnot.
So this is a fun question.
Okay.
If you tell me that you like moldeds, we're going to have problems. Moldeds or studs?
All right. I just bought a pair of studs online, actually. I'd say last week. But I love my molds. I got a pair of Nike molds right now that are just like, I forgot what, I think they're like, I mean, they're definitely football cleats. But it's hard when you got a size 15 to find cleats anywhere. Like I think the cleats I ordered on eBay, they're a pair of Adidas.
I can't find any size 15s. The only place I can find a size 15 is at eBay.
Exactly. And the cleats are coming from the UK. So halfway across the world, I have to get some cleats. That's what. If any American companies, Nikes, Adidas, Under Armour, are listening, stock up on some 15s. I was actually looking. Under Armour just put out the highlights, like the high top rugby cleats, and they only go up to like 13 or 14. I was like, just one more size up. Come on, I need those, and those are studded.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those look nice.
I wore them with football. They were the most comfortable cleat ever. I would love to wear those with rugby.
What do you want the people to know?
What do I want them to know? That's a good question. I want them to know who the Utah Warriors are, and I want them to come support. I want them to sort of. I mean, that's the best thing that we can get. I want the fans to know that we need them more than. Yeah, we need them because I mean, if we could fill out that stadium each and every game week, that's a hard environment for an opposing team to come in and play. You know, it's easy for a team to come in and play, and there's not really fan base there. But I feel like Utah, there's a great fan base of rugby already, so I feel like we shouldn't have that problem.
I mean, you go down to Provo, BYU's got a massive facility just for rugby by itself, exactly. Which is kind of intense. Like full stadium, like I think
we got some rugby. We got a good amount of BYU players on our team, so hopefully that brings those fans, and then we got UVU players on our team, so hopefully we get some UVU fans, Utah fans. And then
you guys got a great set of college, a nice little feeder system when this thing kicks off. So,
yeah.
Alex, thanks for coming on. That's all I got for you. So who's next?
I believe Kenny or Angus. Give me 1 second. I'll get them. Come right over here.
How's it going, everyone? If anyone has questions, please submit them at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just grab my bag.
Are they already here?
Thank you. Yeah, Aaron. That's Aaron.
Hello.
So it's coming back.
What's that?
Bringing the fro back?
Man, I don't know. I've let my hair grow out for like a year now, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to cut it. or if I've just put way too much commitment to let it grow. But if I play more than 30 seconds of rugby, it just becomes this. And I'm like, you can't look that athletic with this thing on your head. I don't know.
What do you everyone, I've got USA Eagle, tight head prop, Angus MacLellan. So first question, do you know your Eagle number?
Yeah, I'm Eagle number 493.
All right. You're one of the few in the last like 150 that know their Eagle number.
That's not good.
Just to let you know, because it's like I asked Will and I asked Sean. I was like, hey, do you guys? Sean was like, I think I'm this, and I was like, you're really this. He's like, what? And then I asked Will, and he's like, no, I have no idea.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. Loving that.
Yeah, it's an honor, and I think we on this last tour we just hit 500.
No, you're 519.
Yeah, but I think we got into the 5. No, maybe they were already. I don't know. You know what I am. Let's put it that way.
So what sports did you play growing up, man?
I played a lot of, being from Michigan, I played a lot of hockey, also football and baseball. And then until about my senior year of high school, I had a couple of buddies from football that played for the local rugby club. And they were like, man, what are you doing playing baseball in the spring? Get out here and hit somebody. And so I was like, oh, I'll come out for a game when I have free weekend off baseball. And went out, and then the next weekend I was missing baseball for rugby, and it was kind of after that I was like, yeah, this is a bit more fun. So
nice. So you played just one season with the Traverse City program?
Yeah, well, I think I might have played like a game or two my junior year, like just filled in. I had no idea what I was doing, but yeah, I played mostly just my senior season at Traverse City for the Traverse City Alliance. And then I was just lucky because Davenport had started their varsity program the year before I graduated. And they were looking, we had coaches, Justin Hickey and Kruger were looking to fill in the program with different guys, and they knew they could coach up players. So they were looking for guys that weren't afraid to tackle and stuff like that. And so that's how they found me. And just watching, they were probably out recruiting someone else, and then well, maybe we'll just ask that guy if he wants to come. And I wasn't sure about it at first because, like I said, I really don't know much about rugby, and I decided to just I'll go for 1 year and just see what it's like. And
that's really what scouting is about. Like you're always going. Like I watch a lot of films, so I'm always looking for. You're always looking at somebody else, and then they either end up sucking or just do okay, but you find all your diamonds in the rough when you're going to look for somebody else.
Yeah, and it definitely doesn't hurt to have coaches like Justin Hickey and Kruger and Todd Wheeloff there to teach us the game afterwards either.
So, you got recruited to Davenport. Was there any other place you were looking at going, or did the rugby just pull you in?
No, I was looking to go to other schools, not necessarily for rugby, play like probably walk on, play like Division II football, or just go to school, and then Davenport offered me the scholarship. And I said, you know what? I didn't know that much about rugby at the time. And I said, you know what? I'll give it a year. I went there with one other kid that I graduated with at Traverse City. And we were like, we'll just go for 1 year and figure it out. I went there, and that first year, I learned so much from those guys, and I was lucky enough to be called into the USA Under-20s team that summer, which honestly I'd never even knew there was such a thing until Kruger pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna put your name in for USA Under-20s," and I was like, "Okay, that's cool. What's that?" And so I went to a camp, and then I ended up getting called in for the tour that summer, and after that, I was just hooked. I was like, "There's no way I'm stopping now."
Well, that's pretty awesome. You eventually captained Davenport to the national championship in D1 AA. So, how was that?
Hey, man, I loved playing for Davenport. I loved playing for those coaches. The group of guys that came in my year and the year before us, we had just a really good mix of people from all different levels of experience and all different walks of life. you can actually, there's a lot of guys on those teams that you see their names still out there. They've gone really far, you know, guys like obviously JP Eloff, Demekus is capped for the US team. Mason Baum played in Ohio with us in the last pro league. Anthony Welmers plays with the sevens team. There's guys from that team, Joey Sock, that are still out there, you know, making a name and still trying to play rugby. And, you know, that's just a testament to the culture that we had there at the time, as well as the coaches who really put that culture in place and taught us everything.
So how would you describe like how that like that whole period, like how that shaped you to like, I guess, push forward towards, you know, this?
I think the main thing that I'm always thinking about when I'm like working towards the next step is you know, thinking about all those guys, your parents, your coaches, your teammates along the way that have really helped you or seen something in you that maybe you didn't see. For instance, like my coach Kruger that freshman year of college, seeing, hey, this guy's pretty new to rugby, but he might have a shot to play for the USA under-20s team. I'm going to put his name out there. People that put their neck on the line for you, you know, or put their name out there for you, and you just owe it to them to just keep working hard and following your passion and never take a step back. And that's a lot. I mean, I do it for myself as well because I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of it, I never want to let those guys down that helped me out along the way.
So, I mean, you were a junior All-American, U20, and a senior All-American. When did you figure out that you were pretty good?
We were playing, I think we played those 2 national championships, and I got to play U20s for 2 years and thought, okay, well, I must be okay at this because I'm still making the team. And I had some pretty good confidence going into college teams year over year. I went overseas in 2013 and played some club rugby down in New Zealand and up in Ireland, and that helped out massively. And came back and was able to make the All-Americans and then make it to the U.S. team. And then I was like, every time you make it somewhere, like when I remember when I first in 2014 I went on my first full Eagles tour. You're like, oh, I made it. This is just the start to the next step of going to the next level of being here regularly. And then that's the next step of going to trying to be a starter. You know, it's just like one hill after another. But if you enjoy, you know, the fight to get there, then it's not, you know, it's never depressing. It's just, it's the thing you like to do, you know? So I always say I want to keep playing rugby until I start taking steps backwards. And that hasn't happened yet. And I don't plan on it happening anytime soon. And I'm happy that there's opportunities like this MLR to let me keep going here.
So when did you go to Trinity?
I went to Trinity. I played for Trinity in the fall of 2013. So after my junior, my 3rd year of college, as soon as the school year ended and the rugby season ended, I shot down to New Zealand and I played the club season down in Christchurch.
Okay.
And then immediately following that in August, I flew up to Ireland and I played through Christmas with Trinity.
Oh, wow. So I guess I need to flip these questions because the research did not get me the correct timeline. So you went down and played with Linwood over the summer between junior and senior year of college. So how would you describe like club rugby in New Zealand versus, you know, here?
I mean, the culture down there is insane. It's like no matter where you go, you're going to be playing a very high level of rugby. Everyone you meet on the street can talk rugby to you. But the coolest thing about there is, I mean, I was playing games with guys that are future All Blacks. I was playing games with guys that could have been current All Blacks, you know, because they missed a game because they were injured. As they come back, they would drop down and play for their local club. So I remember playing against guys like Jordan Tafua, Robbie Fruin. A couple guys on my team are playing for the Crusaders or the Blues or up in Europe now. And it's such a different mindset to what you see because these guys are superstars and everyone knows they're superstars. I could have walked into the grocery store there in Christchurch and seen Dan Carter or Richie McCaw shopping for groceries. I mean, you wouldn't expect to see, you know, some NFL players shopping for groceries at your local grocery store or something like that. So it's just a different culture.
Well, I will say, the town I grew up in just happened to be a place where NBA players bought houses, and you would see these guys in the gym because we had LA Fitness, and you would see them play pickup basketball all the time in LA Fitness. And it was just, you know, sort of normal, but sort of weird at the same time, because it wasn't like super wealth going on. It was like, oh, hey, there's that, you know, guy from the Clippers just hanging out guy. So I guess I sort of understand that, but not really, because I'm like, oh, they're basketball players.
Yeah.
So
the culture down there around the game was just awesome. And the whole time I was down there, I mean, that was the only sport anyone played the whole time I was down there. I mean, cricket was a different season and all that. So, I mean, I got to play a ton of rugby, and it worked out really well.
Did you go to the pitch in Hobbiton?
And where?
In Hobbiton.
No, I didn't.
There's like a mini pitch at on the, I guess, in the set town, like wherever.
It would be funny if they put that in the movies.
That would it wasn't in the movies. I think the pitch itself, it's like small. They played during the Lions tour. They played threes on it.
Okay.
So it's kind of small, but it was kind of funny that they built a pitch there.
It's built for hobbits, so it's got to be small.
So you went up to Trinity, and like, how would you describe university rugby versus here?
Well, you have different levels of guys, because there was guys not in university anymore that still play for the club. And you can play against men's team. When we do the AIL, you're not just playing just university teams. So all different levels of guys, some older guys that you don't see in the U.S. The U.S. is university level, collegiate level is very age-based, you know, just like every other collegiate sport. So over there, it's just like any other club game. I remember going over and we played Oxford in England. So we did a little bit of traveling like that. Sydney University came up and played us during the week when they were touring Ireland. So one thing, it was like two completely different styles going straight from New Zealand to Ireland, but they both paid off in dividends. It's like different things that I learned there. So yeah. But a different culture collegiately, because like I said, guys have jobs. There's all different ages and levels. Whereas here in college, you know, most of the guys live within, you know, dormitories or near each other, and they see each other every day. That's not always the case there.
Nice. So you were in World Cup camp and you tore your ACL, right?
Yeah, I did that. So it was before they had like or at least at the time they didn't have like the APC or any. We just went down to South America before the World Cup, and we were playing like a domestic tour, you know, so like an A-side, like what the APC is now.
Yeah.
We played Uruguay, I think once, and we played like Argentina 15 twice. And yeah, unfortunately, I tore my ACL in 2015. Just before.
So, like, how much did that suck? Because you're probably gonna make it.
I mean, I was told there was a really good chance I would make it, but you know that just happens. You learn to live with it. But at the time, I didn't feel that way, you know. But I think, you know, the amount of guys, when something like that happens to you, I mean, you could go to just about every other rugby player and be like, yeah, man, I remember back in 2009 when I did mine, you know, so it's just important to keep that mental mindset. I came right back to the U.S. The U.S. helped me find a doctor that was connected to them, got surgery as quick as possible, and got down to Chicago because I graduated like 2 days after I tore my ACL, I think, when I was still on tour. And knew I was going to go play with Chicago, so I got right down to Chicago, started working, and they hooked me up with Atletico, one of the main guys at Atletico, and I was going in 2-3 times a week getting rehab, just trying to get back as quick as possible, but at 100% as well. So I had a lot of help along the way, and you know, definitely the rugby community. Like that's kind of the theme of everything I say is there's no shortage of people willing to help you out, you know, as you work hard to get to the next level. That's for sure.
So how well does Chicago Lions recruit people? Because I mean, you came directly out of Davenport to there.
Chicago is kind of going through a bit of a, you know, building up their recruiting and the professionalism of the organization. They kind of had a lull there, you know, like maybe a couple when I was in college and stuff. And then as I came out of college, you know, they got some new people into management. Not that the old people were any bad. I don't know who they were necessarily, but I don't want to make that sound bad. But some new guys into management that were more proactive about what they were doing, trying to be proactive about recruiting. We got a new coach in 2 years ago, Dave Clancy, who brought a bunch of professionalism to the club. And each year that he's been here, I see more and more quality of recruiting, younger recruiting of guys getting in there, guys coming from different places around the country. Chicago is really trying to make a push to become a premier club again, and you know, raise the quality of Midwest rugby as well. So you know, just takes time. It's in a good market with a big city like that, big international city, but you can't build this stuff in a day. That's for sure.
Oh no, like that's just one thing, you know, with club rugby, you kind of have to work on, because I don't know. I think that we do a poor job at recruiting guys who are in college to play club rugby and stay playing club rugby, because it's like we just have a really poor retention rate. So guys will play club in college and then not play as seniors, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like
a lot of guys come out of college and just said, yeah, I'm done. I said, really? You spent 4 years, you know, working so hard and you just can stop like that? But not everyone's like me. You know, some people have different passions and that sort of thing. But the last 2 years, we've done a very good job at Chicago working with like University of Indiana and Davenport University and some of these other schools in Wisconsin, Illinois, even Michigan, to try and get players to come down either during their off season and play, you know, come out to Vegas with us for sevens, or come right after they graduate and try and fill in with the 15 side.
So you were signed to play with Pro and played with the Ohio Aviators. Like how'd you get picked up there?
That was just through the U.S. team. I remember when that season was starting to roll out. I don't know what other people's thoughts were, but mine was like pretty hesitant to believe that it was actually going to happen. Sorry, the lights just went off here. But pretty hesitant to see if that was going to happen. And then the U.S. team sent out an email and was like, hey, you guys are, you know, going to be probably up for selection, you know, because you're in the pool. Just let us know if you're in or out. And obviously I said, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's see if this can happen. And luckily, Columbus got the team, and that was pretty close for me to home. So that worked out pretty well.
So, I mean, what did you think of Pro in general? Like,
it was interesting. There's some differences between what Pro was and what this is, that's for sure. I was actually just talking to one of our management here about the things that we're doing much better here than were happening during that season.
Like getting paid?
Yeah. I mean, I got most of the money, so I felt like I was one of the lucky ones. I know a lot of guys that got, you know, really didn't get paid for the work they did. But, you know, pro rugby was offering, you know, way up top, just high expectations. You know, there was a lot of botto about what they were saying. This is going to be the next big thing. And it turned out to be a lot of just talk. The one thing that, like, I just had the conversation about this is we have here in Utah, we have a marketing team, a group of guys and women that are trying to get the game, the awareness out to the public, get different media pieces that will help people learn the game and learn about the team. I think we were like 4 games into the season in Ohio before we even got flyers made for us with like our schedule on it. And then we had to get a Sharpie and write like the address of the field and the website on there because no one had put that on there. So I don't know. I'm not here to that's judgment on whose job that was, but someone wasn't fully involved in wasn't fully committed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So what about your time with the team?
With Ohio?
Yeah.
It was a great team. I remember coming into that and I saw, different rugby publications saying like, oh, Ohio's going to be lucky if they don't get last. And I was looking at our roster of guys coming in and I was like, are you serious? I know most of these guys and the ones I don't know are like awesome. We had guys like Jamie McIntosh coming in and Dom Waldock and we got a couple Canadian player and we had a bunch of Eagles and ex-Eagles. So I was pretty excited to play with the team. I enjoyed living in Columbus, Ohio. It was a nice town, and that's coming from someone from Michigan. That somewhere in Ohio is nice. But I know I kind of had a feeling that there wouldn't be a second season pretty early on, just by the way things were ran. Not on the Ohio team by any means. Everyone involved with Ohio, coaching staff, management, put their heart into it, and would have liked to have won that season. But we came close and we put it all on the line, and it was a lot of fun. I don't regret that. I don't regret that part of my life at all. That was a really good time.
So your first cap was against Italy at Avaya.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the stadium's nice, but what was that feeling like?
Yeah, you're right. The stadium is nice. Like I said, my first full USA tour, I did the November tour in 2014, and I knew I was kind of on the edge, so I wasn't lucky enough to get capped on that. So by the time I got to Italy in 2016, I've been waiting for this for a long time. So it was exciting. The first time you hear that the national anthem and you think, oh my God, I'm going to be able to get out on the field here and prove what I've worked hard for is you can't prepare yourself for it. And then, just being able to accomplish everything that you've worked for, that was always my goal for a long time, get capped for the US. But like I said earlier, then as soon as I hit that, I was like, okay, now what's my next goal? I'm going to get here again, and then from there, I'm going to try and continue to improve each tour. So
this last summer, I would say it's the first time I saw you on tape, man. Mm-hmm. You played in the American Pacific Challenge. So what do you think of A-side tournaments?
I think it's something that's helped out the U.S. team a lot the more we've had them. And they're really good because they're bringing in a lot of guys from college, younger guys that haven't had a chance to get looked at yet. And it's still a really competitive level of rugby. I mean, if you were watching the APC down there in Uruguay, that was really good rugby getting played down there. And we worked really hard to get to that point. It was great being able to bring in a bunch of guys that hadn't gotten a shot yet. And some of those guys took that and used that as a platform to get capped for the Eagles in the ARC as well.
So first tour under Gary Gold.
Yep.
I'm sold on the dude, having met him in Los Angeles. You've been around, now 3 different head coaches. What do you think?
He's a great guy. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I liked the last coaching staff that was in there with Mitchell. I was thinking to myself, how is this going to match up to that? And you know what? I was blown away. The professionalism, the culture that he's brought in. I like working with Sean Pittman and Greg McWilliams and all the other assistant coaches and trainers that he's brought in, all the staff. So I hope to make it back there again and continue to work to be there. And I think Gary's gonna really help us do good things with the U.S. program. And that's a good way to start it off too with the ARC, the way he did.
So this is a question from the readership or viewership, I guess. So when do you think the U.S. scrum will gain parity with the higher tier 2 nations. So I guess we're looking at Fiji, not even Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgia can
Georgia is no joke up front. That I know.
But you know what? I think we're on our way there. The biggest challenge is, and hopefully this MLR will help, is that we're not competing against the best domestic players week in and week out. I love playing for Chicago, but when I'm in Chicago playing Midwest rugby, I'm not getting high-level scrummaging week in and week out. And no matter how hard you try to hold yourself to your standards, you can get complacent with it. So we need to have a league such as this, or centralized contracts, or something that allows me to be going head-to-head with guys of my same caliber or better week in and week out. That'll only help me improve. You could see players like Chris Bowman and Dino Waldron who've gone and played in the Premiership and the Championship, and their game has gone up massively because they're getting that week in and week out challenge. So we need to be able to do that here. I know on this last ARC, I think I was talking to some of the Brazilian players, and I was just like, man, like, you guys only started putting money into the union a couple years ago. How have you gotten your scrums improved quite a bit? They said, we're all on centralized contracts. Most of us play rugby all day, and we've got 5 different cities or something like that. So we scrum against each other all the time. And the U.S. is really, we had pro rugby and now we have MLR, but we've been a little behind the ball on, it's a big country, so it's hard, but so is Brazil. Getting people together and having us compete against each other and learn from each other week in and week out. So I think it'll happen as this game grows, but I also think we're on our way there now.
So what was your recruitment to Utah like?
It's not a very exciting story. They just reached out to me. They said, hey, we're looking for props out here. And Dave Hodges, the USA manager, said you might be interested. And kind of just went back and forth with them for a while because I worked a full-time job in Michigan, and I was not really 100%. I got a family in Michigan and stuff on coming out here. But, talking to my family, time was right. They support me, and I was just excited to be able to focus on rugby again. I've spent the last year and a half or so working and trying to stay full time with rugby, but there's nothing like this where day in and day out I'm 100% committed to it.
So what's the biggest difference between the rugby culture in Utah and Chicago?
Yeah. I've only been here a week, so I'm still kind of getting used to the whole Utah culture.
Geez, they let you take a week off.
Yeah, it's an interesting culture out here. The mountains are beautiful. That was a big selling point on getting out here, that's for sure. But there's a lot more people that know rugby here. You can see. I mean, I was driving down the street the other day and I saw some little kids throwing a rugby ball around, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Just tonight, we went and got food before this, and we had some people come up to us because they saw us in the Utah Warriors gear, and they said, "Oh, you guys part of that new team that's coming here? We can't wait to come out to games."
That's awesome.
So it's partly to do with the competitiveness of the universities around here in the rugby world and the Polynesian influence here as well. But the awareness is a lot higher here than it is in Chicago. Where in Chicago, there's a lot of rugby players, but per capita, there's definitely a lot of non-rugby individuals.
So how do you think an MLR team would fare in the Chicago market?
I think an MLR team would do pretty well in the Chicago market, actually. I don't think anyone knows how many club teams there are in Chicago because there's a lot. I know club teams in Chicago that meet up for like one game a year, but there's got to be 16 to 25 club teams in the Chicago area.
That's awesome right there.
Yeah, and all different levels of involvement and level of experience. But it's a major city with international airports and a huge rugby. You've seen what U.S. had done when they went and played the All Blacks at Soldier Field and the Wallabies, and then we played the Maori All Blacks at Toyota Field. I mean, there's definitely a market there to get fans there, and I would say it's definitely a place that a lot of players would like to go. It's a major international U.S. city. Foreign players wouldn't mind going there. It's a beautiful city. And I know a lot of domestic guys that are either from the Chicago area or the Midwest, or just interested in living in Chicago would be interested in going and playing in Chicago. So that would be a cool thing. If that happened, you never know. We'll just see how this season goes, one season at a time. That's for sure.
So, I mean, you just came out of like the tour. So, what really has been the biggest adjustment coming into, I mean, the Utah practices versus, say, well, Chicago before going into the ARC?
Utah versus Chicago, you're saying?
Yeah, like your biggest adjustment there.
Pretty big guys on this team. That's for sure. I'm one of the smaller guys. But a lot, probably like the top 9 guys in this league I don't want to tackle are on my own team. So that's always a good problem to have. But there's definitely, it's just like anywhere else. There's all different levels of experience on this team. You know, we got guys that are really good athletes that are just still learning the game, to guys that have played overseas or played rugby league, all different backgrounds. So it's really this MLR league, at least my experience so far, has the feel of club rugby, but a higher level of club rugby, which is good because I think pro rugby showed us that we weren't ready for officially professional, everyone full-time contract rugby, but we're ready for semi-professional rugby and to grow the game. That's for sure.
So you met your fiance at Davenport. How's being I guess was probably going to be the second most followed rugby family behind the Stockert Evans pairing.
What's that?
So you know Kelsey Stockert, right? The Sevens player.
I've heard of her. Yeah.
Well, so I guess so Nick Evans, who's going to play for San Diego, is often referred to as Mr. Stockert.
Okay.
So, like, I mean, Lily, their daughter, has, basically grown up on Instagram. Like, she's grown up on Instagram where all the rugby community just follows them.
Oh,
so, yeah. So you're going to have, like, the second major rugby family.
Man, I try to stay out of social media, to be honest. I let Melissa deal with all that, but I'm sure having Melissa and my daughter, man, I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I don't know how to deal with girls, man.
Neither do I, but mine still sticks around. So
yeah, I'll let them deal with all the social media. I like to stay out of it.
So, a final question. And Slim gave me a half answer.
Okay.
Moldeds or studs?
Oh, I don't know how you could give you a half answer. Studs.
He's like, I still love my moldeds because my foot's so big.
Yeah, that's just because, don't listen. If you're in the type 5, you better be wearing studs. I have 2 boots. I have long studs and short studs. So I don't really have these.
Well, I'm not that nice. I bring the wrench.
Yeah.
So thanks, Angus. Let's get Kenny Scott on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Bam. Done with that one.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. So before we get into the questions, I checked up on you. Steve Lewis says you're a great gentleman. So shout out to Lizard Rugby there.
Yeah. Sure.
So if Steve vouches for you, you're good to go in my book.
I've known Steve for a while. took a chance on me when I was like 19 years old and still in college and hadn't played much then. So a lot of respect for that guy.
So, Kenny, what sports did you play growing up?
So I played football, basketball, and track in high school. A little bit of soccer before that, a little bit of baseball. Stuck to what I was good at, the running things.
So how'd you like get involved, like get to K-State and then get involved with rugby there?
So yeah, I was living in Kansas City, born in Dallas, moved to Kansas City. K-State, my brother was there, got there, was going to walk onto the football team, and then decided that I wanted to be a college student a little bit more. Had a buddy who played rugby, and he kind of got me out, drugged me out, and then I was hooked from the first practice, go. I was all about it.
So you guys had a bunch of Fort Riley players on the team, right?
Yeah, a few handfuls there.
So, I mean, I was in the Army. Playing Army club rugby can be rough.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, everyone's on different schedules. So those guys, like, you're either going to have, like, all of them or none of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of turnaround. Guys would come out, beat the crap out of us. Just because it was men playing with a bunch of college kids. And we played men's sides too, so we could handle it, but it kind of got us ready for the heavier teams. But yeah, and then, get the notice, hey, I'm getting shipped out. It's like, oh, all right, well, good luck, stay in touch. Hopefully we'll see you back, but we'll probably move on to other things after this.
So what about your time at State molded you into the kind of person that just continuously seeks, all these high-level sevens opportunities, just getting after it?
So yeah, I had a pretty, I guess, a mentor in Kansas City who he went to K-State, and he was kind of got me in with Atlantis, and I went to Cuba for the first kind of call-up trip, and I didn't know how I was going to pay for it or anything like that. He said, "Don't worry about it, just get in shape." And so that kind of taste of international rugby, just always playing at a higher level, just kind of piqued my interest, and the competition was there, and just ready to take the next step and kind of be willing to put my hand up to play harder teams. I want to play the best,
So, I mean, Atlantis, depending on who the person is, I think, like, as a program, they're pretty much like one of the gold standard programs, and definitely the longest running program in this country for sevens. I mean, Emil Senior started that program after he was the men's sevens coach, and it's just, I mean, you guys put out squads everywhere. It's kind of, you played with them 3 times, right? So what was the process there?
Yeah, so like I said, I had a guy. He kind of dropped my name to Emil, kind of as a burner back when I wasn't as heavy set as I was now. And the pride kind of just got me in the door, got me to Cuba, and from then on it was just hey, are you available? Can you play? But the way it was structured was a little different, as far as you show up in shape, and you have a little bit limited time to really hone your skills with your teammates for that tour. So you kind of have to be on the ball and ready to go and everything like that. So it was different, at first, but the standard that's set when you show up is you show up ready to play, and you show up ready to take the trophy home. It doesn't always happen, but you're gonna leave it all out there with the guys who were selected for that tour.
So you guys, when you were in college, you guys went to Club Sevens Nationals, right?
No, we went to I guess not sevens. It was just 15s.
Okay.
So we went to 15s Nationals up in Blaine, Minnesota. We made it as far as.
So that's where I got confused, because it was in Blaine, and I'm like, Club Sevens was in Blaine, I think, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so you went to 15s. So 15. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, cold, but it was fun. It was a good experience.
So what was, I mean, what did it take to go to, I mean, club nationals for 15s?
A lot of hard work. It was the furthest the team had been in a really long time, and we had a good core group of guys who would come in from high school with rugby. They kind of raised the curve a little bit as far as onboarding new players to the team, and that helped us out a lot. We got some foreign talent that was pretty experienced as well, and we kind of just took it for what it was worth and didn't really have anything to lose. Made a good run that year, so it was nice.
So, I mean, after graduating from K-State, you moved back to the Kansas City area, and you've played mostly with the Blues. Like, how'd you get drawn in there?
Had a guy recruit me as I was playing for K-State because I found out about rugby at K-State, so I had no clue that KC had teams until I came back and started playing against those teams. And a guy from the Blues recruited me. One time we were back playing with K-State, and from there on, it was, they took care of me. They got me, like I said, they got me hooked up with Atlantis and everything like that. And it was just a real kind of, you could feel that brotherhood, and the atmosphere and the club culture was kind of one that you couldn't really turn away.
So, and was it a couple of years ago, you played with Denver Sevens, and at Rugby Town, you qualified for Coral Coast. What kind of a tournament is that?
We actually ended up not going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't really ask you about Fiji.
Yeah, I hear it's a lovely place. One day I hope to go there and just relax. But yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to go that year.
Oh man, that's rough. So last summer, you moved out to Utah to play with the Selects. Like, what sort of a gamble was that for Sevens?
So I actually played with the Blues again last summer. I played with the Selects over at Rugby Town again.
Oh, for some reason I thought you played with them like the entire time.
No, just that last minute call up for that Rugby Town tournament. It was good. It was so refreshing to kind of turn up with a different team who they had one goal in mind, and they fight tooth and nail to achieve those goals when they're hungry. And it was Ben, the coach there, Ben and Jeff, kind of invited me out to just kind of boost the roster and fill a spot that they had a guy go down at Club Nationals. So they needed a kind of guy with my talents, I guess, to help them out, and kind of worked out in my favor. And I don't think I'd be here where I am right now if it kind of wasn't for that tournament.
So and then you've also been to Club Sevens Nationals with KC, right?
Yes.
So let's talk through that process.
Okay.
Because I have no idea. I saw a bunch of teams go last summer. It was cool, but I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
I don't play sevens.
Right.
Sevens is work. And
gotcha.
I mean, I'm a hooker. I am all over tens. If they want to make tens a thing in this country, I will be all over that. But sevens, I will go do something else.
Yeah. So how our circuit kind of works is we have 3 tournaments where you acquire points, and obviously top 2 most points go on to nationals. And you kind of, we've been fortunate in our Frontier League because we finished, Utah's finished twice, at the top. Denver's right there, and then the year before KC was there. But Denver's always been just a stalwart in sevens leagues, especially at nationals. KC, we haven't had, I guess as a club history, we haven't had a lot of success, but until recently, which has been nice because, I've been there for a while. So I was there back when, we weren't as good, and we would show up to qualifiers with barely enough guys to build a roster, get whooped, enjoy it, go home. So it's been nice to see the program build up to where it is today, especially with the competition that's in our Frontier League, and then making it to nationals as well.
How did you get recruited to play with the Utah Warriors? Was it just answering that call for the selects, or was
it was kind of like after the selects, I kind of reassessed everything, and I knew they were getting a pro team, and it was kind of just, I asked, kind of closed mouths don't get fed, and I just, decided to see what it would take to get here, and what the program was kind of looking for, and what it would take to make the roster and everything like that.
So, like, what's been the biggest adjustment since moving from Kansas City?
There's mountains here, a lot of mountains. Biggest adjustment is just getting in the swing of things as far as, working with the Warriors and the programming and stuff that we do as far as working out and trainings, getting that all matched up together and kind of not killing myself too much and taking care of my body and whatnot.
Do you have any teammates back in Kansas City that need to put their hand up for the league?
We had a few that did. Shout out to Matt Workin. He just got signed by NOLA Rugby. Super stoked for that guy. He's going to do some big things with his career. Let's see. Any other guys there? We have a couple young boys who need to step up. They know who they are because they've talked to me about it already. And I'm telling them ask. Like, the best thing you could do is reach out to a coach and ask, or reach out to anybody who will listen for that organization that you want to play for and ask, because they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do and how to get on the team. But yeah, I would probably say that to anybody who's interested in playing.
So what do you think of Coach Alf?
He's good. He brings the best out of you, and he knows how to do it. And in this short amount of time, I think we've been here for almost 8 weeks now. The amount of respect that I have for him, and I know that my teammates have for him, has grown immensely. And he puts your needs first while, putting what's best for the team in the same category.
So Texas or Missouri barbecue?
Oh, Missouri.
Wow.
Kansas City for sure.
You're about to get disowned by people down in Texas. I'm from California. I just want good barbecue. So if it tastes good, I doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. Same. Agreed. But I'm not gonna. Come on.
You're going full KC. All right.
I was born in Dallas actually, so I don't know.
Ooh, the debate is now.
When we play the Texas teams, I might take a couple extra shots. We'll see.
So I always ask this one: moldeds? Oh, is black moldeds or studs?
Ooh, so I guess a couple years ago, back when I was a back, I was a wing for almost 10 years. I probably would have said molded, but now. I'm playing flanker, and I've got to go with the studs just to stay locked in.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I play hooker, so there's no room in my life for moldeds. People. And even those backs, there's no room in their life for moldeds either. They just don't know it yet.
It's like when you're not in the pack, you think that it's a foreign concept, and you're like, what are those guys doing, blah, blah, blah. And then you get in the pack, and you're like, I wish a back would just catch the ball. And,
So true.
Like, why are they doing 8 moves when they could just, pass it and then,
Let's see. What do you want the people to know?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Kansas City barbecue's the best. That's one. No, I don't know. Come out and see me. You see what you get, or get what you see. I guess that's how you say it. Not any different from anybody else. Utah Warriors. We're here now. It's a thing. we're all excited. We're itching to get out on the field next week, and kind of show what we got and show how hard we've been training to give Utah a good brand of rugby.
Awesome. That's all I got, Kenny. Thanks for the interview. Everyone else, we're back next week, Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks again, Kenny.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm telling it to turn off.